Hey, what's up guys, Alex here. Thank you for checking this video and welcome to lesson number 8 of the series of tutorial on how to build a premium theme for WordPress. If you really like my tutorial, please take a couple of minutes to check the Support Me page where you can find a lot of different methods to support me, my channel, and help me to create better video, better content, and more tutorial for you. Welcome again. In this tutorial, we're going to take a look on how to create a specific page in our Sunset administration panel to give the user the ability to customize the WordPress theme with some pre-built theme support feature of WordPress, like a custom background, a header image, a featured image, different post formats. So we're going to give the user the ability to check and uncheck specific checkbox list to activate and deactivate some specific options. Before doing that, we have to clean up a little bit the thing that we did in the previous lessons, and we have to change a bunch of names because I'm gonna use new pages that are gonna reflect the actual content of the page, so we have to change a little bit. First of all, let's access the function-admin.php file and let's change the submenu page called general into, let's change the title and let's change to Sunset Sidebar Option as the title of the page, and instead of general, let's write sidebar. These slightly changes are going to be reflected in the menu here. If we refresh, we're going to have the sidebar link menu instead of general. We can indicate to the user that this section is related to the sidebar option, the options that we just created. Let's change also this title, the Sunset Theme Options, because it's not just generic theme, but this page is just only for the sidebar. So Sunset Sidebar Options. Let's save it, let's refresh, let's check. That's perfect. Now we're pretty good to go. What I want to do now, I want to create another page with another section just related to the actual theme support option. That's why I removed the theme name here, because I'm going to create a section for the actual theme option. So I don't want to have two sections with the same name or the same title. That could be confusing. But let's get started. Let's go back in our text editor and let's generate another subpage with the same function that we already used at add_submenu_page, as if I know how to write properly, add some menu page. The first one is the parent slug. The parent slug is always, as usual, the main page. So it's the Alicad Sunset. It's because we want this subpage to be underneath our current Sunset master menu or master link, whatever. The page title, now we can use Sunset Theme Options. The string, the menu title that I want in my menu link, I want to be like Theme Options, maybe in a single quote, passed as a string. Capability, as usual, has to be a capability related to the administration level, so we have to indicate manage options. The string slug has to be, as usual, Alicad Sunset Theme. And the callback function is the function that we can actually call to generate some specific options of the page. Has to be, of course, as usual, a unique name. So Sunset _ theme _ support _ page, and semicolon at the end. Now we have to create this function that we just called. So if we retrieve the functions that we call the other during the generation of these other submenu pages, the first one is calling an actual template. These other one, the settings page, is just calling, is just echoing H1. What I want to do exactly the same here. I want to call this function to retrieve a template, to require a specific template in my folder structure. So let's copy this function. Let's go back at the end and let's write a title template functions, template, submenu functions, submenu. I don't know how to write anymore. Let's call function. Let's paste the function here. No parameters in the brackets, curly brackets, open, close. And now we can require once usual get template directory dot to connect the string, and then the usual URL where our template is, templates / sunset theme support.php and semicolon at the end. Now, just to avoid to trigger an error, we have to create this file, otherwise PHP will trigger that cannot find any file with this name. So let's go back in our file structure, and because we are lazy, let's just duplicate the sunset admin that we already have, and let's write sunset theme support.php. Let's add this here. Let's change a little bit of options. Sunset theme support. Settings error as usual. When you do this, has a sort of suggestion, and you know that you're not going to use the same variable as we use in the other template, but instead of deleting everything, just maintain one and just put a comment. So you're not going to use this variable, but at least you have the full script that you used in the other pages. You don't have to rewrite everything from scratch. You can copy these or change the variable name, change the settings ID, and you will be good to go without the annoying part of repeating everything from scratch. So now we can comment this part, comment this part, and comment this part, because we're going to change these settings. We're going to totally use these settings, absolutely, but with different ID and different unique names. And we can totally remove the preview of the sidebar because we are not actually using the preview of the sidebar. So let's save it. Let's go back in our administration panel. Let's refresh, and we see now we have a theme option section. I want the theme option to be on top of the custom CSS because this section is more important than the other one, than the custom CSS. To do that, I have to just simply manually take the declaration of the submenu page and put it before the other declaration. As I said in a previous lesson, PHP reads your page from top to bottom, so you can change the order of the pages by just reordering the function where you create those specific pages. So let's refresh, and now the theme options, it's right underneath the sidebar where I want to be. Keep going, let's access the sunset custom settings where we created all the settings that we are using in the sidebar section, but right now I don't want to use the same settings group because it doesn't belong anymore to the sidebar section. So I want to create and register a completely new settings group. So to make it a little bit more readable, let's separate these sections with comments. Sidebar options. And here, theme support options. And let's register underscore setting. I want to register new settings. The first attribute is the option group. So I want sunset dash theme dash support. The second name is the option. So the first support that I want to activate is the standard post formats. If you don't know what a post format is, I did a tutorial in the WordPress 101 for beginner developers uniquely about the post formats, how to activate post formats, and how to select a specific post format in your backend. So check that video if you don't know what a post format is. But anyway, this one, it's better to use the underscore instead of the dash, as I said in a previous lesson. And then here we actually need a callback function, not to actually sanitize, but to collect properly all our information into one single variable as an array. Quote, single quote, sunset underscore post underscore format underscore callback. So I know what I'm talking about. Before going on, let's just create this callback function just to avoid to trigger an error if we don't create it. Even if the function is empty, let's just create it for like safety purposes. Even if it's not the right order where you're supposed to be, you're supposed to collect all the function for a specific options for like generation in a section, all the callback function in another section separated by a comma. But I don't want to keep scrolling up and down. That could be confusing for you. So I'm going to keep everything here, order one after another. So let's call these post formats callback function. And let's write function sunset post formats callback. Inside the brackets, we need the input. That is the value that automatically WordPress is gonna pass every time we save something. We save some information inside the specific settings, and we need to collect that input. Let's open the curly brackets, and for now, just let's return the same input. So this function is not gonna do anything. It's just completely useless right now, but at least we have a function that is the same callback, so we're not gonna have any error triggered. Now we have to create a section to collect all the information and to print whatever HTML, whatever value we want to create in this new page. So let's use the function add settings underscore section. And of course, we need to specify the string ID. So let's call sunset dash theme dash options. Let's do a quick research and be sure that I didn't use already this unique ID. That's good. Never use the same unique ID. It's like so wrong. Let's write theme options as a title. The callback function is usual to generate a little bit of HTML inside your settings section. So it's going to be sunset underscore theme underscore options, and the page, which page I want this section to be connected to. So of course, in the previous lessons, I always activated the page to be the Alicat Sunset, the generic page, but that is this one. But in this case, I want this section to be connected only to the Sunset theme page. So I have to specify these as my page. That this option, these setting sections belong to. So let's save it. Let's create right away this function. I don't want to forget to create a function. Sunset theme options, no parameters, and here we can just echo some information, activate and deactivate specific theme support options. Just this nice simple description for the user. Now we have to register finally our settings field, and we can finally call this settings field inside our theme page, our template that we generated. So let's use the function as usual, add underscore settings underscore field. The ID as usual has to be a unique ID, and I want the ID to be post formats. I want the title of this section to be post formats, and the callback function that of course I have to call to generate whatever input and I want in that specific field has to be sunset underscore post underscore formats. Let's check, of course, if I didn't use again this. Okay, I have the callback and I have the actual function. That's perfect. Always check when you create a function, especially in this case, we are creating a lot of callbacks and a lot of functions for each section. Let's check if you didn't already use that specific function, because the function has to be unique. If you have multiple functions with the same name, you're gonna trigger a PHP error. The page where I want this field to be stored is the Alicat Sunset theme page. The string section has to be which section I want this field to belong to, and in my case, it's the sunset theme option. And I don't need to pass any type of arguments in an array inside here, so I can delete the rest. Parameters, and let's close. This function has a semicolon. So now I have to create a sunset post format option that is going to be exactly the same as this one, but of course it's going to be slightly different because we have to create some specific options. Separate with a comment, sidebar options function. So I know that from this point on, it's all about the sidebar. And here I'm going to create this function, sunset post formats. So function, sunset post formats, open, close brackets, no parameters. Let's create an array. Now we have the options to create a specific post format. So we need to collect all the different post formats that WordPress comes with. And post formats are a lot. Let's create a variable called formats, and inside an array of all the different formats that we want the user the ability to activate. So aside, comma, gallery, comma, this is boring. Oops, link, comma, image, comma, quote, comma, status, comma, video, single quote, single quote, audio, comma, and chat. These are all the options that comes predefined by WordPress for the post formats. Unfortunately, WordPress yet doesn't give the option to create custom post formats. So we have to stick with this list, and it's pretty full. Like, we have multiple options to customize every different post formats. So now we have this array with all the post formats, and what I can do, I can loop through this array with a for each function and generate an input field checkbox for each post format without writing it manually. So let's do a for each is a PHP function that gives us the ability to loop through an array. So this is the array, the first parameter, and we have to put as and then another variable, and of course open the curly brackets. This function is keep looping, keep repeating whatever piece of code we have inside here as many times as all these single array attributes. So formats has 9 attributes. It means that this for each is going to loop for 9 times. And every time this format variable that I define is going to be, the first time is going to be aside, the second time it loops is going to be gallery, the third time it loops is going to be link, and so on, so on. So it's pretty simple, right? Formats loops 9 times, as many times as the attribute, and applies the value to the variable that I define here. Of course, this variable could be named whatever you want, like option or blah blah. You don't have to use the same variable name as the singular name. It's kind of like good to have a specific logic for this variable, so you know that this format belongs to the mother array called formats. But anyway, I wanna create an empty variable called output, and this is gonna be empty. And here, instead of echoing every time, I wanna push inside the output variable all the information that I want, and then I'm gonna return and print the output variable. So let's write output dot equal is the merging of whatever I'm gonna write inside here is gonna be merged with whatever information of options or value it's inside already the output variable. And here I can use the standard input type equal. I want this to be a checkbox. One of these ID equal to the format. So let's write $format. And I want to be the same for the name. Name equal format. And then I want a value of 1, so I know what kind of value is going to be passed if this option is checked. And then I can put the name of the actual format. So $format, and then here BR. I can also wrap around all this section a label to label to make this name, the format name, clickable. Otherwise, only the checkbox would have been clickable. If I wrap everything around the label, HTML attribute, everything, all this section is gonna be clickable. So now that I'm looping 9 times and I'm inputting 9 times this checkbox with a different ID inside the output variable, I can just simply return the output. Let's go back in our template here, and we wanna reactivate all these options, but instead of using the previous settings field, we have to change all these options to the new options that we generated. So instead of the sunset settings group, I have to check which kind of register settings are used. So it's sunset theme support. So let's change the settings group to theme support. What kind of section I created instead of Alicat Sunset? I created a new section, Sunset Theme Option, associated to the page Alicat Sunset Theme and not Alicat Sunset anymore. So I have to change this do settings section to Alicat Sunset Theme, and then I can reactivate the submit button. We don't have to change anything. Let's, for now, don't care about the variable to collect the information of a user. So let's go back in our administration panel. Let's refresh this section. And now we have the theme options, the activate and deactivate specific theme support, the subtitle that I created, the post format. Nothing is showing because I returned the value here. Where is the return? I returned the output instead of echoing, because in the callback function of a specific settings field, you have to echo the variable and not return it. So let's echo this variable. Let's go back here, refresh, and we have just one checkbox. Let's access the source code and see, oh, I forgot to put a double quote after the value 1. So the system was freaking out for my mistake. Sorry, guys. Let's refresh, and that's it. Now we have the post formats, title of the actual field, and inside we have all these options here for aside, gallery, link, blah, 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 and we can check and uncheck. So the user now can select whatever options he wants to activate specific post formats. Now what we have to do, we have to collect all this information during the saving process, because if we check 2 or 3 options and we click save, these information are going to be collected not properly because we have just one single options and we don't know how this thing is saving. So as a test, let's do something. Let's in our source code here, in the callback function that saves our post formats, let's var dump the input. So the var dump is a PHP function that prints an array, an object into readable code. So we can take a look what's inside this input. Let's refresh here. Let's check a bunch of options here, save changes, and let's see here we have null. Of course, this is a trigger error because we are printing something, but it's totally normal. You have to see what's here. So var dump is null, so it's not an object. If we echo this stuff, of course, we're gonna have an error again, but at least we can check what's inside our submission of this changes saved. Save change. We don't have anything echoed because, of course, if we check in the source code, nothing is being echoed because this is completely empty and WordPress cannot save whatever information it's inside because we didn't specify the correct name of our option. Of course, if we take a look of the previous input field, you will notice that the name is identical to the register settings that we specified here. So we have to do exactly the same. Let's change the name to the post formats here. And now every time we access this section, all our checkbox are gonna have the same post format name. So let's see, name is post format, and also this one is post format. So if we select a bunch of things and we save, you will notice here we have just one because we don't have anything. It's the value that the post format is passing there. So what we have to do now, we have to use, of course, the same name as a post format, but we have to transform these into an array of value and give the ability to WordPress to collect that array in a proper way. To do that, we have to just use the square brackets after the name. So this is the name, the unique ID of our register settings, post formats. Inside the square brackets, we have to insert the actual unique name of that specific array value. And of course, we already have the array with every single value. So let's put post format here. Let's save it. Let's go back in our administration panel. Let's refresh it. And if we take a look at the source code of every single input checkbox, you will notice now we have post formats, square brackets, image, post format, square brackets, quote, status, and so on, so on. So now WordPress can actually collect the information of these single post formats register settings with an array of options inside, and automatically WordPress will save the array inside this single register settings. To check if it's actually working, let's roll back to the var dump settings here. And let's save it. Let's go back. Let's try to save something before. Let's refresh because I changed the code. Let's save 1, 2, 3. So aside, image, and video. Save the changes, and there you go. We see that it's working because the var dump is printing the array as the aside. We have the checkbox, so it's 1. It means that was checked. Image and video, the 3 options that we checked. The rest of the array is empty because we don't have the other checked mark of these other options. So let's go back here and let's remove this. Let's just return the input to avoid to create confusion. Let's refresh here. Let's refresh the administration panel. Let's save these 3 options aside, quote, aside, image, and video. I like these 3. So save the changes. Of course, the settings are saved, but these checkboxes are not updated because we didn't create any sort of update. So what we have to do now, we have to get the options. We have to retrieve the options that we just saved, and we have to loop through that option. And if that option has a specific key name with a value of 1, it means that that checkbox has to be checked. To do that, let's just simply, before remove this part, let's copy this part that is the one we need, paste it, and remove completely this option from our template file. Let's go back in our function, admin.php, and here we can retrieve this information. So let's call this variable options. Inside here, we want to retrieve the unique ID of our register settings. And now these options with this information, this option is going to be an array with just the values that are saved manually by the user from the checkbox. If they are checked, are inside here. So what we have to do, we have to check if the current format is equal to 1 in the current attribute in the options. So let's write a variable called checked, and here we can create an if statement in line. So let's open the brackets, let's put a semicolon at the end, and let's check the statement. So the statement is if the options inside the square brackets value format. So we know that inside options we have aside, image, and video. And we know the format is looping 9 times to aside, gallery, link, image. So every time format is gonna be the same value, the same attribute that is inside options, these options, this checked value is gonna be triggered. So if the options aside or options gallery, options link, or options image, whatever, it's equal to 1 if the value that is saved is equal to 1 question mark, we can return a checked value. Otherwise, we can return an empty value. And now this variable is going to be, every time we loop, is going to be updated. So what we can do, we can just print this variable here after the declaration of the value. So if the actual option is checked, this variable is going to print the word checked, and this will automatically check the checkbox. Save it. Let's go back here in our administration panel. Let's refresh. And of course, we have a massive amount of error. I was expecting that. So the first error is array to string conversion. It means that we are doing something wrong. Exactly here, I maintain the escape attribute. The escape attribute is a function of WordPress that check the string and escapes all the HTML attribute. But of course, that escape attribute cannot be used to an array. So this function was trying to convert the array into a string and was causing the error. So let's save it now. Let's refresh, and this first error, yes, exactly, the first error is gone. Now we have all these undefined index, that is gallery, link quote, all these stuff that we didn't check. It means that our if function to check if these options is checked is triggering an error every time cannot find a specific match. So we have to specify two options. To do that, we have to just simply use a super simple and nice function of PHP that it's incredible when I found out. Basically, you can use the @ symbol, as you were doing a mention on Instagram or Twitter, to streamline a specific function called isSet. Basically, this @ is checking automatically if this variable actually exists without us like writing a proper if is set, or if this variable exists, you can do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. Just put a hat on top. Save it, go back in our administration panel and refresh it. And of course, now it's working and we don't have any PHP error. So now we have all the options that we saved. If we uncheck and save again, of course, all my options are saved. If I change page, everything is saved here. So now the user, the final user, has the actual ability to check and uncheck whatever option he wants. Now that we have this beautiful information, we can do the scope of this whole tutorial, that is actually activating the post format. If we access the post section and we access the standard hello world that we have here, of course here we don't have any post formats because we didn't activate any type of post format. So what we have to do now in our functions.php is retrieve this post format option if it's defined, of course, and then loop through the post formats. And if some post format is defined, we have to activate that specific post formats. To do that, let's create a new function file inside the inc folder for the front end. So let's call this new file theme support.php, theme-support.php, because I'm gonna use this file to activate and deactivate all the different theme support options. Inside here, let's copy paste the first part, of course, to make it consistent. And here we can theme support. And inside here, we can use pretty much the same function, the same options that we created here to retrieve our post formats. So let's copy this. Options is equal to get options post formats. And we can check if the array is not empty. If empty is a PHP function to check if the array is empty, so we can put options here, but I don't want to check if the array is empty, but if it's not empty, so let's put an exclamation mark before as a prepend of this. So we're gonna switch this to empty to not empty. If these options is not empty, curly brackets, we can do whatever trick we want to do. So we can activate the post format with the add_theme_support, and the feature that I want to activate is the post formats and comma. And here we cannot print just the options array because the options array comes with the value plus the equal attribute that is like 1, 2, 3 or whatever. So what I have to do, I have to loop again through all these information and create a specific output. So let's do exactly the same like this. Boom. Let's copy here. So we have the formats array that has everything inside here. We have the output that I'm gonna use to create an empty array where I'm gonna populate this array with all the information that I want. And then I have the for each. Let's close the for each here. So now what I have to do, I have to basically maintain this function here to check if the option has a specific format that it's equal to 1. But if it's true, I have to populate the output array with the specific name of the option. So this array output, I want to fill it with whatever information. So if you want to add another attribute, another value inside the array, just like call the array and put an empty square brackets. It means that you're going to add something to this array. And this array, instead of having a value of checked, I want the format. Otherwise, I want nothing. I mean, just an empty value. And now that we have the output that is looping through all the formats and is just collecting whatever information we have as a specific format type, we can just use the output here inside our add theme support. The add theme support accepts as a first parameter what kind of theme support you want, and if the support, the options that you're activating accept a value on an array, you have to print the array after as a second parameter. So semicolon at the end. Let's save it and let's go back in our folder structure, and inside the functions.php we have to require this new template that we just generated. So let's duplicate the string and let's call theme support.php. That is the name of my file. Let's save it, go back in our administration panel. Let's refresh the posts. Let's access hello world, and inside here finally we have the list of the post formats that we activated. We have all the lists that we activated. If we do something to check, we go back to the sunset, theme options, and we deactivate site, image, video, and chat, and we just leave gallery, save changes. Let's go back in our posts. Let's go back in our single post. And now we have just standard. That is the standard of WordPress. We cannot change this one, but we have the gallery post format, the one that we specifically activated. And this is really, really great. It's a great achievement. What we're gonna do in the next lesson, we're gonna use the same method to activate all the remaining theme support. That is like post thumbnail, custom background, custom header, and some specific HTML5 options for this amazing sunset theme. So thank you again for checking this video. It's pretty much it for this lesson. I hope you enjoy it. And if you did, please give it a thumbs up or subscribe to my channel. And if you have some doubts or questions, just please leave a comment below. I will try to answer to everyone. So thank you again. And as usual, until the next lesson, happy coding.